Remember these nonuplets? This is how they look. Years later. It all started in the summer of 2021, deep in the heart of Kansas. A 27-year-old woman named Grace thought she was just beginning a typical pregnancy. She and her husband, Jack, were ready to welcome their second child. But from the very first ultrasound, nothing about this journey was normal. At first, doctors spotted twins, then triplets, then more. Grace stared at the monitor in disbelief as the technician's expression shifted from calm to confused, to speechless. There's more than I can count, he whispered. Her heart pounded. Jack's knees nearly buckled. In a matter of weeks, their small-town life would become a national phenomenon. As Grace's belly grew, so did the risk. By the 5th month, she could barely walk. Her lungs struggled. Her spine ached. The local hospital had no answers. Specialists were flown in from Boston. Medical teams debated day and night. How do you keep 9 babies alive before they're even born? The government stepped in. A private medical plane carried Grace and Jack to a world-renowned neonatal facility in Houston. Reporters swarmed the runway. Cameras flashed. But inside that jet, Jack held Grace's trembling hand. He whispered, "Whatever happens, I'm right here. I won't leave." On August 14, 2021, history was made. In a highly risky C-section involving over 40 medical staff, Grace gave birth to 9 tiny miracles. 5 girls, 4 boys. Their names: Olivia, Ava, Sophia, Mia, Isabella, Daniel, Leo, Lucas, and Finn. Each baby weighed under 2 pounds, some smaller than a soda can. But they were alive. NICU teams worked around the clock. Wires, alarms, incubators. Machines breathed for them. Monitors tracked every heartbeat. Grace, barely conscious, asked just one question when she woke up. "Are they still here?" The next 14 months, the hospital became their entire world. Jack learned to feed with syringes. He sang lullabies to heart monitors. Grace, still recovering, watched through glass as nurses whispered, "They're fighters." Slowly, inch by inch, ounce by ounce, the babies began to grow. Doctors said it was medically impossible. Survival for even 5 was rare. But all 9? It stunned the world. News stations from California to New York aired the story nightly. Strangers sent letters. Donations poured in. But through it all, Grace and Jack stayed quiet, humble, focused only on one thing: keeping their family alive. They came home on a chilly October morning, wrapped in matching blankets, each with their names stitched by a nurse who had grown to love them. The front yard was lined with neighbors holding signs, crying tears of joy. Grace stood at the front porch with all 9 in her arms and heart, while Jack fought back sobs he hadn't let himself feel in over a year. The world had watched their struggle, but this was their quiet victory. The house, once silent, now echoed with the soft hum of 9 different lives beginning together. The living room turned into a nursery. Diaper changes never stopped. Bottles were lined up like clockwork. Jack took night shifts. Grace handled morning chaos. Their hands were tired, backs aching, but neither of them complained. They had waited for this. They had prayed for this. And every cry, every giggle, every tiny yawn reminded them of the miracle they still couldn't quite believe. The pain had been worth it, every second of it. Months passed and each baby grew with their own light. Olivia was the first to crawl, bold and fearless. Finn loved to hum himself to sleep. Mia smiled like she knew something magical. Sophia held tight to her sister Isabella like she'd never let go. Daniel and Leo kicked side by side in their cribs, like brothers who shared a secret. Lucas was calm and watchful. Ava's giggle lit up the room, and little baby Isabella, the tiniest of them all, clung to Grace's thumb like it was the whole world. Jack often sat on the front porch at night, a mug in his hands, eyes on the stars. He whispered names into the wind, each one of his 9 blessings, as if to make sure the universe never forgot them. Grace would lean against the doorway, holding a baby monitor in one hand, love in every breath she took. Sometimes they wouldn't speak, just sit, just exist in the rare calm. After all they'd endured, the silence felt sacred, like a song only they could hear. And then came the first birthday. Cameras clicked, balloons danced in the wind, friends traveled from all across the country. Nurses from Houston flew in to see the babies who'd once fit in the palm of their hands. Grace stood in the backyard surrounded by laughter, frosting on her cheek, arms wrapped around her family. Jack raised a toast with tears in his eyes and said, "1 year ago we feared we'd lose them all. Today, they filled every corner of our lives with love." The crowd clapped, but for Grace and Jack, time stood still. They never asked for fame. They never wanted attention. They just wanted a chance to raise the family life gave them against every odd. And now, as these children begin to grow, talking, walking, dreaming, the world might not remember every headline. But Grace and Jack, they remember every heartbeat, every hospital beep, every prayer. And most of all, they remember the moment they realized love, no matter how chaotic or crowded, had never felt so complete. The second year brought louder laughs, braver steps, and a home filled with crayons on walls and toys under every foot. Grace started keeping a journal, not of milestones, but of moments, like when Lucas said "Mama" for the first time, or when Olivia fell and all 8 siblings rushed to her side without a word. It wasn't just parenting, it was poetry. Chaos wrapped in magic. Exhaustion folded into joy. They didn't have everything, but somehow they had more than enough. Jack built 9 tiny chairs by hand for the kitchen table, mismatched wood but full of soul. Every morning, the breakfast table became a chorus, Leo demanding bananas, Ava blowing bubbles into her milk, and Mia clapping just to hear the sound. Grace sometimes stood back from it all, clutching her coffee and heart at the same time. "This is what heaven must feel like," she whispered once, and Jack just nodded with eyes shining. They didn't have a mansion. The roof leaked in spring. The car needed jump starts more often than not. But when you have 9 pairs of arms hugging you at once, when a hallway echoes with giggles instead of worry, even the smallest house becomes a palace. Friends offered help, but Jack and Grace said, "We're not raising children. We're raising hope." And that's exactly what it felt like. Hope that maybe miracles still happen in the quiet corners of the world. In year 3, the town threw them a celebration, the 9 stars of Kansas. Streets were lined with banners, and a marching band played as the Nonuplets sat waving from a makeshift float. Grace held back tears. Jack wore a smile the world had never seen before. For every doctor who said it couldn't be done, for every night they thought they'd lose one. This moment was the answer. Not just survival, thriving, together. And as the children grew, each one so different, so full of wonder, people would often ask Grace how she managed it all. She'd smile, take a deep breath, and say, "One day at a time, one miracle at a time." Because no matter what the world threw at them, no matter how tired or unsure they felt, one truth carried them forward. Love multiplies. It doesn't divide. And when you believe in something bigger than fear, life has a beautiful way of showing you what's possible. But life has a way of testing the hearts it blesses. Just weeks after the children turned 4, Grace collapsed in the backyard. During a game of tag, one moment she was laughing, running, arms wide. The next, she was on the ground, unmoving. Jack dropped the garden hose and sprinted to her side, his world blurring with panic. The children froze, silent for the first time all day. Little ow. Ella clung to Leo's shirt, whispering, "Is Mommy sleeping?" But Jack knew this wasn't sleep. The ambulance screamed through the streets. The town watched in disbelief as the woman who had defied science, raised 9 miracles, was suddenly fighting for her life. At the hospital, machines beeped like distant thunder. A stroke, they said, brought on by exhaustion, stress, years of pushing her body beyond its limit. Jack sat at her bedside, his calloused hands shaking as he pressed them to hers. "You gave everything to them, Grace. Now let us carry you." Days passed. The children stayed with neighbors, but Jack brought them in one by one so they could kiss their mother's hand, whisper their love, even if she couldn't respond. Olivia drew her a picture. Finn laid his favorite stuffed bear beside her pillow. Mia just curled up on the bed and cried quietly into the sheets. The nurses tried not to weep. They'd seen many battles in these halls, but none that broke the air like this. Then came the night it all changed. Just as Jack leaned in to say goodnight, her fingers twitched. Barely, but enough. He called for help, voice cracking under the weight of hope and fear. Monitors blinked. Doctors rushed in. And then Grace opened her eyes, slowly, as if peeling, through the fog of a nightmare. The first thing she whispered wasn't, "Where am I?" or "What happened?" It was, "Are they okay?" Jack laughed through tears so deep they shook the bed. "They're perfect, but not without you." Recovery wasn't easy. Grace had to relearn movement, speech, balance, everything. But Jack was there every single step. He built handrails through the house, turned the living room into a physical therapy space, read medical manuals late into the night. The kids made posters. "Go, Mommy! You can do it!" Each morning, Grace looked in the mirror, saw a woman who had given life and nearly lost hers in return, and chose to keep fighting. And one day, nearly 6 months later, she stood on her own. In the middle of the living room, all 9 kids around. Her, arms out like petals around the sun. Jack reached out, hands trembling. "You did it," he said. Grace shook her head, eyes full of fire. "We did it." And in that moment, the house wasn't just filled with light. It was lit from within by something stronger than fate, deeper than pain. It was the sound of a family refusing to let go. Months passed gently as Grace continued her recovery. Each small step forward met with quiet celebration. The children learned to be patient, their laughter softer, their hugs more tender, as they sensed the strength it took their mother to heal. Jack balanced his time between work, therapy sessions, and bedtime stories, never letting the weight of their trials dim the warmth in their home. It wasn't about rushing progress. It was about honoring every moment, every fragile victory. Grace found solace in the simple routines, the soft morning light through the window, the smell of freshly brewed coffee, the way Mia's tiny hand would curl around her finger. She learned to ask for help, to lean on those around her without guilt. Friends brought meals, neighbors offered rides, and the community's love wrapped around them like a comforting blanket. In this calm, the family found a new rhythm, one built on respect, patience, and unwavering love. The children continued to grow, each one blossoming in their own way, their spirits untouched by the hardships their family had faced. Olivia's curiosity blossomed into creativity. Leo's quiet strength became a steady anchor for his siblings. At night, Grace would listen to their soft breathing, feel their warmth pressed close, and marvel at the resilience nestled in these small souls. Their presence was a daily reminder that life, even after hardship, holds beauty and grace. Jack and Grace often shared quiet moments, just the two of them, reflecting on how far they'd come. No grand speeches, no dramatic declarations, just gentle smiles and the comfort of shared understanding. They knew the journey ahead would still have challenges, but together, with patience and love, they could face anything. Their story wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about healing and hope, about the quiet strength found in everyday moments. As the sun set on another peaceful day, Grace looked out the window, watching her children play beneath the golden light. She whispered a soft thank you to the universe for the second chances, the small miracles, and the love that carried them through. The road had been long, but their hearts were full, and in that fullness they found a promise that no matter what tomorrow might bring, they would face it together with respect, kindness, and endless hope. The house breathed with the soft rhythms of life, whispers of laughter weaving through sunlit rooms, where shadows danced gently on worn wooden floors. Each morning spilled like liquid gold across the curtains, casting warmth that settled into every corner, wrapping the family in a tender embrace. Grace moved slowly now, her steps a quiet melody, each one echoing resilience like a fragile bloom, pushing through cracked concrete. Outside, the garden bloomed wild and free, a riot of colors reflecting the untamed spirit that had taken root inside these walls. The children's voices mingled like bird song at dawn, high, clear, and full of promise. Olivia's curious eyes captured every fluttering leaf, every shimmer of light on water, painting their world in hues of wonder. Leo's steady hands built towers of blocks that reached for the sky, tiny monuments to hope and imagination. Together, they created a symphony of small miracles, a testament to life's gentle persistence against all odds. In their play, the hardships melted away, replaced by the pure, unfiltered joy of discovery. Jack watched from the doorway, the lines of fatigue softened by the quiet pride that filled his gaze. The years of struggle etched into his face, yet softened by the laughter that now filled their home. He traced the contours of memories, long nights at hospital bedsides, whispered prayers, the unspoken fears that had woven through their days. And still, here they were, alive, thriving, bound by a love as deep and vast as the open sky. Theirs was a story written not in grand gestures, but in moments, fleeting, precious, and infinitely beautiful. At twilight, the family gathered beneath the sprawling branches of an ancient oak, the sky a canvas painted in strokes of lavender and rose. Grace's voice rose in a soft lullaby, a song of endurance and hope carried on the breeze. The children's eyes grew heavy, their breaths slow. And even as the day's last light kissed their faces, in that sacred hush, time seemed to fold in upon itself, and the world held its breath, awestruck by the quiet power of love that had blossomed in the face of hardship. And as night wrapped its velvet cloak around the home, a single star shimmered, brightly overhead, a beacon for all who believed in second chances, in the poetry of survival, and the beauty found in gentle, unwavering hope. Their journey was far from over, but in that moment, they had everything they needed, each other, and the unbreakable bonds of a family forged in grace. In the quiet moments before dawn, Jack sat beside Grace, watching her breathe with the steady rhythm of hope. Their hands intertwined, fingers laced like a promise, silent yet powerful. Around them, the soft murmurs of their children stirred, a gentle reminder of the life they had fought so fiercely to protect. Every smile, every small hand held, was a testament to the unyielding strength of parental love that had carried them through the darkest nights. The family had become a fortress built not of stone, but of trust, patience, and endless devotion. Each child, a unique thread in the tapestry of their lives, woven tightly together by shared dreams and whispered lullabies. When challenges came, as they often did, Jack and Grace faced them not as individuals, but as a united front, an unbreakable circle of care that held firm through every storm. In their home, love was the quiet force that healed wounds and mended hearts. As the children grew, so did their bond, blossoming into something unshakable and pure. Family dinners echoed with laughter, stories passed down like precious heirlooms, and celebrations marked not just milestones, but the beauty of simply being together. Through tears and triumphs, the family stood tall, rooted deeply in the knowledge that no matter what the future held, they would face it hand in hand. And when the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of amber and rose, the family gathered close, wrapped in the warmth of belonging. Jack held Grace's hand, their children nestled around them, eyes shining with trust and love. In that perfect moment, time slowed, and the world outside faded away, leaving only the gentle pulse of family unity, a heartbeat strong enough to carry them through a lifetime. Their story was not just one of survival, but of enduring love, of bonds forged in hardship and strengthened by hope. It was a reminder that no matter how fierce the storm, the light of family will always guide the way home. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to smash that thumbs up and hit subscribe for more unforgettable, emotional, and viral true stories. We want to hear from you. Drop a comment and tell us, where in the world are you watching from?